Yeah, and then we'll just do a little intro. So, chamber members, up here on the front table, it is time for us to vote for our next person of influence. So if you would please, all of the applications that we've received are up on the front table. Before you leave today, please take a read through those applications and cast your vote for who should be our next quarterly person of influence. So, yeah, that's all right. So for our candidate roundtable, we've gotten most of you guys all sitting at one table. I don't know if that's good or bad. We'll see how it goes. So what we'll do is we'll just keep it super informal, right? What I'd like is for each of the candidates just to maybe introduce yourself, tell us why you're running, that kind of good stuff, and then we'll open it up to questions from our chamber members. So again, it's not a debate. It's not something where we anticipate there being, huge consternation over anything, but we just want to give you guys the opportunity to sit down and to talk with a different kind of audience, right? So this is the business folks within Phillips County, an opportunity for you to just talk about what's happening in the county, maybe tell folks what your thoughts are, and trying to keep it around those business and economic topics. Okay, so Casey, can we start with you? Just do a little quick intro.
My name is Casey Knudsen. I'm running for the House of Representatives. School never changes, does it? I'm running for the House of Representatives for District 33 here, go from Fresno Reservoir all the way over to Glasgow. Like I said, I've lived here my whole life, born and raised, I guess in Havre, but raised here, went to school down in Bozeman, ended up graduating with a degree in mechanical engineering and aerospace, and I came back up. I'm using that a little bit right now, trying to start a business myself, so running through that. I volunteer with the local fire department, and I'm EMT as well. I guess that's kind of a background on me. Stuff that I think is important, the business equipment tax has got a lot of talk the last little while, and especially in our area, having a lot of young farmers and ranchers trying to come up, that can be a big hindrance on that. The age of farmers, the average age is approaching, 60 years old now, and they can't just keep going for forever. We got to have some new blood coming in. So I think anything we can do as a state to help younger people get into that, would be ideal, of course. So I guess I wrote some stuff down, so let me take a look real quick. I'm sorry. I know that the Retail Association, I don't know how many people are a member of that here. It's the retailers, the restaurants, and tire dealers, I think is one of them too. But they do some programs over in Glasgow right now for culinary arts, where you can get I think it's a certificate of some sort right out of high school that takes place in a high school class that you can get right out of high school, and you have a skill you can use and go to work right away instead of having to, go into the minimum wage jobs, The Tire Association also came up with a tire maintenance certificate that they can get in high school. It takes place in shop class. So I guess if anybody's interested in going to the Retail Association or any of its subsidiaries, that would be a good thing to support, try to get into town here. Other big thing, I guess, was the minimum wage. So trying to raise the minimum wage. I'm not a fan of that, per se. Really, in my opinion, all it does is just passes along the burden to the businesses and therefore the consumers, and it doesn't really help anybody in the long run. More people that you get off of government aid and everything, the better off the society is, in my opinion. Economically, too, I kind of thought of the hospitals in town, since they're a big provider and a big employer and everything. One of the big things I'd like to focus on is the life flight prices. People kind of get stuck in a corner when they're at the hospital and they have an emergency and somebody needs to get flown out. And one food might cost $15,000, another one might cost $50,000. And people they kind of just say yes, because what are you going to do? Not to get down to Billings if you have to, or Great Falls. So I think there needs to be, and I hate saying this, but I think there needs to be a little regulation on those kinds of businesses there as well. So I guess that's about all I got. Thank you.
Hello, my name is John Carnahan, and I run as the county commissioner. And I guess I've been here since 1954. I have 9 grandchildren, 7 boys, actually 6. We lost one, but my concerns with our county are probably the same concerns that everybody in this room has. We just want to make it grow. We want to make it good for farmers, the ranchers, the new businesses, the economic growth, and whatever we can do as a county commissioner and a person, we want to get involved and help. I've been involved for many years with Phillips County Motorsports. We've been very, very fortunate with all the help we've received from the city of Malta and all the residents. It's helped the economy greatly and also has created friendships from all over Canada, North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming, Idaho, Washington, British Columbia. It's just, it would amaze you how many people have come to Malta, Montana to race and whatever, but it's been good for the economy. There's lots of things going on in this community people probably don't understand or know about. You know, you talk about Philco, you talk about the museum, you talk about, we have someone new in here from the paleontology world that I didn't even know you were here. It's really neat that these people come and they want to be in Malta and grow Malta. And the farmers and ranchers. Right now, that's the game we got going in Phillips County, and whatever I can do if I get in office to help that, that's what I want to do. So my main concern is I'm here, all my kids are here, except for one, and he lives in Bozeman. I care what happens in the community. I will work for the community and work for the people, and listen to everybody. And just so you understand, it's from the heart is why I want this job, just to help. But anyway, thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Wayne Stahl, and I live in Saco, and I have born in Glasgow and raised in Valley and Phillips counties, but most all my life here, except for going to college. I served as a councilman, a mayor, county commissioner, 4 terms in the House of Representatives, and I served a 5th term as an advisor to the Speaker of the House in 2013. And it seems like the more you get involved in politics and in running government, the more things that when you leave a session or you leave office, they're left undone. And I guess that's why I'm running again, is because I want to be back there and try and fix some of the things that I think aren't good. One of them is DEQ. We have a huge problem that nobody ever talks about, DEQ in the state of Montana. They hold all of our businesses to a standard of water quality and air quality that's classified as 1A. That's as good as it gets. The cities and towns, and I'm sorry if anybody doesn't like that, but Missoula is the worst polluter in the state of Montana as far as goes for water. They don't have to count the contaminants in their water discharge until it gets 7 miles downstream in the Clark Fork River. But they'll hold the Roundup mine to a water quality of 1A, but they don't even mention about the cities and towns and other things like that. So there's a lot of inequity that goes on in state government to whichever political side they want to play the game on. Another one is taxation. We took a huge hit in the last year's appraisal on all ag property. And the reason is because of the 10-year Olympic average that we use to set the value on crops, so that they can appraise your property on the crop that it raised and the amount of value it produces. Which we really are lucky we do it that way, because if we went by the value of the land, none of us could afford to farm anymore. We'd all have to sell out to the speculators from the big money people. Anyway, that's always been a big interest of mine, and small businesses alike. The business equipment tax is a strange thing. The business equipment tax is talked oftentimes by state politicians because it's a tax they want to see go away, and we all do. But the tax from business equipment goes to local governments. It doesn't go to the state of Montana. It goes to school funding and local governments. So when they go down there and you vote on it in Helena, and you say, yeah, I want that to go away, well, you don't realize that you're taking that $80 million, well, it used to be a couple $100 million, but we whittled it down over the years. So we always have to put what we call a backfill in there, so the state of Montana, from its general revenue funds, fills that $80 million back to local government. And that gets to be a real hard process when you're fighting with everybody else for $80 million. The house reappraisal thing, we've finally gotten it down to a 2-year reappraisal cycle. I think Mike got to vote on that. That's a good deal. A lot of people from the west pushed that mostly because their values went sky high here a few years ago and then they fell flat on their face. Well, they wanted to try to get in on that fall and that decline in the values so they could pay less taxes. The 2-year reappraisal cycle is good for them, but in a few years it's going to be good for us because those prices are just going to skyrocket right back up, and then it's going to be hard to change it because they said, well, you didn't like the 6-year and you wanted the 2-year, now let's just keep the 2-year. So they paid more of a fair share of the taxes across the state according to their values. And I guess I've always been involved in the local government committee, taxation committee, business and labor committee, and the energy. The energy is a big thing in the state of Montana that we'll have to deal with next session. I don't like our coal industry being shut down, and it's all politics. There's no science really behind it that makes any sense. I've often told the coal producers and the energy guys down at Colstrip, I said, you know, if you just get rid of that steam that comes out of your stacks, you wouldn't have this problem, because every time somebody shows a picture somewhere of that steam, and it's 99.999% water coming out of those stacks, every time somebody sees it, they say, oh, look at all that nasty, dirty pollution, and it's not. So we have some PR to do, but it's going to be a tough battle in this session, and if we don't get a different governor, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. No.
Is it my turn?
Yeah.
Your turn. All right. My name's Don Green. I'm running for county commissioner. And I understand I'm a farmer rancher, and while agriculture is the heart of this county, businesses are the soul. And I'm not here advocating one position or another. I'm just here to say that I'm impressed by the vitality of this little community. I've been told by people that come in from out of the county how neat this town is. So, ladies and gentlemen, you're doing a good job. And I'm here to tell you that as county commissioner, I'd like to see the partnership between Phillips County and Malta itself continue and grow, and we'll build on that. And I would appreciate your support in the upcoming election. Thank you.
I'm Jenifer Anderson, and I'm running for Phillips County Commissioner as well. And I grew up out in Zortman, and I've lived in Phillips County most of my life, except for 10 years while going to school and starting our family down in Billings. And we decided to move home to raise our daughters, Addie and Ellie, and it's a decision I'm so happy we made. I'm currently the administrator out at Phillips Conservation District, where I've been involved with a lot of issues that face Phillips County. And when I think of agriculture, like they all say, we all know agriculture is the most important industry to Phillips County. Agriculture depends on our small businesses here in town, and vice versa. And I grew up out in Zortman, where I watched my dad, who was a miner, a lot of other people in this room too, also was affected by the mine shutting down, and I would hate to see Phillips County lose another industry, because that affects Main Street America. And I would appreciate your vote, and thank you for inviting me here.
I'm Mike Lang. I'm presently the House Representative for House District 33. Been in the session twice now. Running for Senate District 17, which basically goes from the Milk River, comes into Montana to the North Dakota border, Highway 2 and north. A lot of things have been brought up about what's going on. One of the reasons is last session, I have gray hair. I'm one of the oldest legislators there, but I haven't been there the longest. And of course, you don't get to stay in the legislature very long anymore because of term limits. But it was a decision of mine to have to step up. We needed some leadership in certain categories, and just things had to be done. And so became chairman of the Energy Committee, Federal Relations, Energy and Telecommunications. That's where we deal with energy, Indian Reservation stuff, and telecommunication stuff. Served on business and labor and agriculture, the last 2 sessions also. Spend a lot of time in the off season when we're not in Helena. We go every 2 years, and this is the little chuckle of my wife and I. We come back to Malta and everybody says, "Oh, are you in DC? Or how come you're not in Helena?" Hey guys, we got to wake up. We go every 2 years. To Helena we go for 3 months, 90 days, and then we come home and do other things. But I've served on interim energy and in economic affairs. One of the things that Casey talked about is the air ambulance thing. I would suggest to all of you to check your insurance to see if you have coverage for air ambulance. Now, right now in Glasgow, Montana, we have the rising star, the star of the air ambulance business in Montana is in Glasgow. So my goal at the next session will be to make sure we don't ruin that. If they're doing good, we don't want to change the rules that they have to compete different with the guys over west. And it's a very sad thing. It comes down to insurances have to get involved, the hospitals have to get involved, and these are private but public businesses that need to be involved, and we have to get it figured out. The real reason it became a big issue is because of the federal government. Changed a law that didn't regulate airplanes and stuff like that. So this really puts a big crimp into it. Then, like I said, in the interim, I'm serving on economic affairs. One of the things, probably the big thing we talk about there is air ambulance right now. We get a lot of, in interim committees, you get a lot of things that people don't want to settle themselves. Should sit down and work it out, whether you're a acupuncturist or you're a physical therapist and you want to do dry needling. They should settle it, but they want us. We're not. So we've decided a lot of times not to do anything. I'm in the sage grouse business. I was a sponsor of the sage grouse bill. That was to keep the sage grouse off the Endangered Species Act, which I do not want them to get on there. And but nobody was involved. We had one person of about 15 in that committee that was with agriculture. And I walked into that committee just to listen and hear, and next thing I know, I'm not liking what I heard, so I decided to get involved. Got more involved, and ended up carrying it in the House, and then put an amendment on the bill that there had to be two legislators on the Sage Grouse Committee, because other than that, it's totally ran by agency heads. You might not think it's a big accomplishment, but Wayne would know, and I really think it is a big accomplishment. And this is one of the things that goes on in Helena, is we have this group on the Sage Grouse. Most of them are department heads, DNRC, DEQ, highways, transportation. Their opinion on when something come up to talk about, well, just yay or nay it. So the fellow legislator and I said, no, we want it in the minutes that you're going to yay or nay, but your name's going on it. This isn't going to be a vocal group between the people, because that's what you have to do at the legislature. Your name, when you go red or green, is on that vote. And these agency people did not want to be there. We've had one vote, they've been fine, but the 24th we go back, and I would suspect there'll be some real hair on the back of the neck rising on some of the votes. Some of the things on the reappraisal, over east, they really got hurt because of the oil companies coming in. Guy's making $70,000 in the oil fields, needs a place to live for a month or two. He goes and buys a $20,000 house, but pays $40,000 for it. Stays there, boom, appraisals went up. My mother-in-law's house in town went up $300. Should not have happened, but that's just the way the thing worked. People were buying older houses, less value, and that raised the price of them. That made the appraisal system go up. Been working with the St. Mary project. I don't like, per se, pork barreling. But I will confess to pork belling last year on it with the St. Mary project. We secured $300,000 to get into the St. Mary project to do more work, to hire more people. We have a $10 million bond that's in the state of Montana that's probably about ready to run out. So the purpose was to get this money out there, get this thing figured out. We need to decide if we're going ahead or if we're not, what we're going to do. There's been some good decisions there. I think the joint board is working very good, but like everything, people, whoever goes to your legislature or a county commissioner can only do so much. It's up to you to really get involved. I want to commend the people for running for this county commissioner job. The other thing I wanted to do, and and the legislators get people to run, get rid of the apathy. Let's get excited about what we do. It's been mentioned what a great community we have. We have a great community of a great Northeast Montana. Let's just keep good people in there and support them all. Support them all. We have a lieutenant governor. I'll embarrass her. I used to call her the best looking county commissioner in Montana. Now she'll be the best looking lieutenant governor in Montana. But we commend Leslie for doing that, and we hope we get to see that. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Michael Burns, and I'm running for state representative in Mike Lane's seat, which he's term limited in. And I want to thank you all for having me here today, allowing me to share my beliefs and a little bit of my platform. And thanks for showing up, being willing. People like you are the ones who make differences in our communities. Now, I'm a conservative Republican. I'm a member of the Montana Farm Bureau, a member of the NRA, and I want to protect our First and Second Amendment rights. I also want to block Obama's clean energy EPA policies that would be detrimental to our state and devastate our economy. Now, to me, this election is about bringing balance back to our state, taking overreaching federal powers and giving it back to the states, giving it back to the people for them to decide how we want to run our state. And so I'm a big believer in the 10th Amendment. And to summarize, it essentially says that if something's not explicit in the U.S. Constitution, that the states have the right to decide on an issue for themselves. And that's what I want to do in the legislature. Now, the coal industry, it brings in billions of dollars for our state and over $100 million in tax revenue. And to lose that would be a huge detriment. And when you have thousands of Montanans who've lost their jobs, and it doesn't just affect them, it also affects us, because coal is our cheapest source of energy, and it would cause electricity rates to skyrocket. I'm also against the EPA's U.S. Water's new proposals for the regulations, which would highly affect our number one industry in the state, agriculture. Our farmers, ranchers, landowners, if they're being told what they can do on their own private property, they can't use a stream if it doesn't meet regulations. They have to get a new federal permit. It just doesn't make sense to me. About the business equipment tax, a few years ago it was 2% if you had less than $6 million worth of equipment. It was lowered to 1.5%, and we lose maybe $10 to $15 million every year because of that reduction. And I believe that we can phase it out completely in order to help our small businesses grow. Now, in the legislature, this election, we need a conservative majority. In the House and the Senate, we need to send a governor and lieutenant governor that would not deflect good legislation like our current governor has. So we need to fight for that in this election cycle. So again, my name's Michael Burns. This is what I'm fighting for in our state, to give the power back to us. And I hope to have your vote June 7th. Thank you again.
All right, thank you all for your introductions and just some information about each one of you and what you stand for. I'll just open it up to questions now. And again, we'll keep to our about an hour time limit, so we've got about a half an hour worth of questions. So who's brave enough to start? All right, well, I have some questions if nobody's willing. And what I'd like to do is just kind of focus you guys on Phillips County, right? So this is the area that we live in, that we're committed to. Tell me, what are some of the things that are going to be critical for Phillips County itself and our surrounding area to be able to continue to grow economically and to continue to have a diverse business base?
I think St. Mary's project and getting that thing funded is one of the primary things for the whole Milk River Basin, and it definitely going to affect Phillips County. If we don't have the irrigated grounds in Phillips County, we don't have raising any crops, we've lost that water somehow, and it is possible that it comes around through the Milk River the other way if we can't divert it, but there's a chance that it might not all get here, and if we ever lost that water, it's going to be disastrous, and especially it could affect the cities and towns along the way. Water is always important.
One of the things I see going on, and it's been touched on, but our energy old-fashioned energy is under the gun. I mean, we've watched natural gas go downhill in pumping. We've lost a lot of jobs, good paying jobs in Phillips County, and that takes takes a heck of a hit. Our economy takes a heck of a hit when it loses those kind of jobs. I don't know the solution to getting it back. I'll be honest with you, but I think it's going to take some pressure from people like us to see that it gets turned around. Another thing that it's kind of interesting, I got involved in the Little Rockies Trail thing out there. The BLM was come out and started to focus on managing the trails in the Little Rockies. And so my wife and I, we love to go to Little Rockies. So anyway, we went out there and I got involved, not involved, but I went to the meetings. Those people have got a really good thing going, and that's one of the things I see that is really good for this county is it has those little oases, as I call them, that attract people. And the great part of it is they attract people in, but those people go home and then they leave their money. So that's kind of what I'd like to see happen more and more. I mean, we have other little areas like that. Nelson Reservoir. I've got a couple places on my place that I'd love to go to. I mean, there's things like that we all see, the breaks, North Hills, all that. Anyway, that kind of stuff, and I'm not much of a tourist guy, but folks, there's lots of dollars in tourism. And like I say, they come, they drop their money, and then they turn around and go home. And that to me is the best of both worlds.
Well, I can honestly say that Malta, Montana, after dealing with all the hundreds of people that come to the racetrack, they have nothing but praise for all of you. I mean, we've got people in British Columbia that named the track the small town with the big track. This is BC, Ashcroft, BC, because they heard about Malta, Montana from people from Edmonton that have been here, from Calgary, etc. But their reasoning for coming to Malta is that it's a safe facility. We've got awesome ambulance crew, fire crew is there at every one of them. They take care of everybody, and everybody downtown. And I praise all the business people in Malta because they come back out to the track and they go, "Where do you find these people? This is the friendliest town we've ever been in." Now, we average 100 cars, generally 4 people per car, and then some. But, that's Malta, Montana, and their main street. They take care of people. And as long as they can continue, and our local support can continue giving them support, they're going to be in business. And I think that, in our community, is a big must. We all need to stay home, shop as best we can in Malta, and promote all of our businesses. But from the track's sake, I just want to say thank you to everyone in this room for the support for the track, because it really has shown up with the people. But anyway, thank you.
I guess something I'd like to see is some more funding for education. It's tough to say that when you're running as a Republican. The easiest way to make somebody's life better is to educate them. And a lot of the reason that we don't have more younger people staying here is because the jobs aren't here. Like Leslie and Greg's, a big part of their campaign is trying to keep the jobs in the state, keep our young people here in the state. And I was lucky enough to be able to come back to our farm, but a lot of other people aren't that lucky. And probably the easiest way to do it is through high school, with the welding programs. They just got a plasma cutter in there right now I helped set up. You educate people for skilled jobs, and then they can start their own business here at home, or just go to work for somebody else that's already existing. So I think seeing some more programs like that would be nice. Seeing some funding for stuff like that would be good. And just generally educate people. Kind of start from the bottom up.
Question on this year's ballot. There was the the word addendum for the conservation district? What's that?
The ordinance?
Yeah, what is that?
Yeah, the Conservation District is proposing an ordinance, and we're putting it on the June ballot, so a lot of you probably have already seen it that are voting absentee. It's a land use ordinance, and we're asking that anybody in the county grazing bison, that they are managed. And so we're asking for a 4 vote. Is that how it's? I haven't seen it come out on the ballot yet, but is it 4 or yes?
It's hard to tell what.
Yeah, we're asking for a 4 vote, and we're not. The Conservation District believes in private property rights, so we're not trying to tell people they can't. No, you can't graze bison here. We're just asking that there be a management plan, that there's adequate food and water. Any bison grazing in Phillips Conservation District, which actually encompasses the whole county. We ask that they be tested for brucellosis, and they also need to be identifiable somehow, whether it be tagged, tattooed, branded. So we're not saying that no, you can't. Obviously there's already 700 bison in our county. We can't say that that they're already here. We're not. This ordinance will not get rid of the bison. It will just, anybody that's grazing bison here will have to comply with it, which is basically just that they are managed. Mostly like livestock.
If they're like livestock, do they, we have one horse, we pay $5 taxes on that one horse. Are they paying $5 per head on 700 head?
American Prairie? Mm-hmm. Right now, the American Prairie, correct, Commissioner, they are paying taxes on their bison.
Bison.
Yeah.
$6 Is it 6? Okay. I was just curious if they were, because I know they wanted to classify them as wildlife, but are they considered livestock still?
They are domestic livestock.
So when you get the ballot, Conservation District would appreciate a 4 vote. I know sometimes initiatives and ordinances are kind of confusing when they're worded on the ballots, but vote for it, please. We appreciate it. Thank you.
I'll add a little bit on that. Just some of you might have read the Tribune probably 3 weeks ago, a month ago. Fergus County did an ordinance, and it came out. The gentleman out of Laurel was uptight, of course, right away. When most of our people in the county read that, we know the gentleman from Laurel. He's an he's a veterinary. He really likes bison. That's okay, but the thing that they were talking about in there is a national bison. He come and said, the Montana Bison Association does not like this thing, and we got mad at him because he said that. Well, he is a member. I went and looked. He is a member of the Montana Bison Association. He can say whatever he wants for the association. But I did go further and talk to the Montana Bison Association and say, we've had 6 years of this stuff. Leslie and I served 2 years on a round table in the state on bison. They were never there. They've never been to the legislature and said, we like this or that. And I said, you guys got to be a little active, and we want your bison. We want your bison ranches. But just to sit back and take a big punch like this, let's not do that. And then I said, how do you identify, we really need to know how you identify your bison. That's one of the big issues. And that's their fight. They can't settle it within themselves, whether they want to tattoo them, put a tag on them, or brand them. So that's why they haven't been involved. So their own association can't settle it. This is, we're all talking about things we want to do and how we want to do it, but the reality of things, it just doesn't happen overnight on a lot of this stuff. And I think it's a good measure the Conservation District's doing this thing. That's figured out. If we'd have had it on goats years ago, we'd have never had that wreck. We had a Dodson, but we didn't have it on goats. Or we don't now. So, yeah.
Other conservation districts have already passed the ordinance. Macomb County was the first. They don't have bison in their county yet. They were proactive. Valley County, they did theirs in 2014. And we've been working on it. It took us a little longer to work on ours just because knowing that we have bison here already in our county, we kind of had to take a different approach. And yes, I think, to me, the main part, like Mike said, is that the bison need to be identifiable, because if they claim they're testing their bison out there, but they don't have a tag in their ear or a brand, there's no way to go back and ever know which animal was tested and what the results were.
And that's required of all cattle right
Yes.
now.
Yes.
And that's livestock. So
Yeah.
there should be no difference.
Right.
out there.
Good question.
We have a few that came in through our email. And this one's directed at the Phillips County Commissioner candidates. So this was a question about your experience in technology, so computer, software, email, and how would you like to see communication happen, or how do you propose to do some communication with your constituents and then with business folks like you have here today?
I guess I can answer. Pardon me if I'm crowding people out, but I call myself computer illiterate. I'm probably up on it enough to be dangerous. I know the technology's out there. My 7-year-old grandson tells me all the time that I could do better than I'm doing. I am intrigued by how the technology has changed in the last 5 years. And that's piquing my interest, I guess. I've gone from, I have a flip phone, but my wife has one of those fancy touchscreen things, and I watch her and I'm amazed, that she can send text just talking to the dang thing, and like I say, I'm maybe telling you a little more about my illiterateness than I should, but I'm intrigued by it. I think the best thing we can do is to encourage you to come in and push it. Individually, I'll probably stick to my flip phone for a while. All I want to do is be able to call people. But technology is fantastic. I go on the computer and buy parts for my machinery and stuff all the time, which is great. I really enjoy doing that. So, all right.
I use technology every day at work, in my personal life, I guess, so I feel very comfortable with technology. And I actually feel that it's just the way of the world now with social media and everything, and I feel like that's a very important place where Malta and Phillips County can be promoting themselves. Facebook, Twitter, they're all completely free. And it's amazing how many people, and I know not everybody is on it, so you can't discount people that aren't, but for the people that are on it, it's amazing when you put something out there, how quickly it spreads and how many people see your posts or see the pictures of, I know the Merchants has a great Facebook page, and then the hashtags, and it's all free, and it just spreads. I could use, I guess, back to my ordinance, I put that on the Phillips Conservation District page, and in just a few days, it shows you how many people have seen it. It has already reached, I think, 3,400 people, and that's free. So I guess I feel like it's an important part of today's world. And also, that's what a lot of the special interest groups and the certain NGOs that are kind of coming after ag, they're using that to a great advantage, and they're kind of actually beating agriculture in that department. And so I feel like young people living in rural Montana and agriculture should actually be better about promoting agriculture and rural life here using social media, because they are really getting their message out there.
Well, I'm very fortunate. When we opened our business, we used to write estimates by hand. They came out with a new program, and it was a computer program, so it was either learn it or get off the pot. So I got educated real fast on how to run a computer, and since then, for the last 23 years, I've been involved with the International Hot Rod Association, so I had to have a phone that I could do all my business over the phone. I talk to my kids whenever, wherever, all kinds of people. Do a lot of work off my phone at home. So yeah, technology it's here, it's going to stay here, and it's going to grow. And if that's what we got going up at the county commissioner's office, and we need to communicate with the local people that way, hey, I'm game for it 100%. It's got to be done, because boy, you can get an awful lot of work done right from inside your house, inside your car. So yeah, definitely a fan of technology.
I guess for Casey and Michael, you guys are both really young and both starting out in politics, never been really into politics before. What made you guys decide that because of you live in Northeast Montana, what made you decide that you actually want to go into politics?
Sure.
Either or.
Yeah. Well, I have a history of being involved in politics, and the last election cycle I helped a guy run for office and get elected, and I wanted to be involved in some way or another, and I kind of learned the insides and outs of it, and I've always been passionate about the local community and volunteer service, and being involved in some way or another. And so, my family has made Northeast Montana our home. My family lives here, my brothers. We've all settled down. We've fallen in love with our church, our communities, all of these things. And so I knew that a lot of great issues faced Montana at this time. And I wanted to get involved. And I felt like I could do it. I felt like I was passionate enough to do it. And so, yeah, that's pretty much I just wanted to serve.
You said made it your home. How long have you guys been here?
About 5 years.
Jason?
Well, I've lived here my whole life, of course, and I've always been interested in politics, and not necessarily the politics, but the policy side of things. Just trying to figure out how something works and the intricacies, and I really just felt it was a good opportunity with it being an open seat, and of course I'm getting married this summer, but no kids yet. I have as much time now as I'm ever going to have, and you kind of got to seize the opportunity when it presents itself. So I felt like I'd be a good match for the area, and I'm interested in it, and the work ethic you learn growing up here, I think it would apply very well down in Helena. To just, instead of getting guys that they get a bill coming across and just vote yes or no, or skim the preview or whatever. Actually read through the thing and see what it's saying. I don't care how long it's going to take. I'm not going to just vote on something just because it's too long. I know that probably makes these guys laugh over here a little bit, but I
gotta read them all.
I don't quite agree with some of that stuff going on. I want to help my community. Make it better for the people here.
Any other questions from the public out there?
Mike Burns. I was wondering, you mentioned you helped somebody else get elected. Can I ask who?
Yeah, Gordon Klingenschmidt. He's a state representative in Colorado.
And is that where you came from before coming to Montana?
No, I grew up in Texas, actually.
Okay. I could hear a little accent Texas, when you talked.
And so that's where my parents worked for the FBI, so I've been in D.C., Colorado, California, Oklahoma. I've been all over, and I've had a lot of different experiences. And I had the opportunity to help someone in Colorado, and I took it, and it was a great experience.
Anybody else? Marco, this is the quietest I've ever seen you.
Everybody else will appreciate it.
I guess I have one more question. I see in a lot of counties they're constantly looking for 911, police, sheriff, ambulance, and I know there's some problems, maybe not in this county because we don't have so much reservation action, not that it only happens there, but we do have drug problems and other related problems. How can we get more focus on those things to clamp down on some of the things that are causing problems for our areas instead of everything you've talked about has been progressive, but there are some things that aren't progressive in the areas.
I think you need to really start looking at it as more of a social, societal problem instead of just, jail time for everybody kind of thing. Over in Maine, I believe, they have, I'm pretty sure it was Maine, they had just a terrible heroin epidemic going on. And they, instead of just sending people to jail whenever they catch them, they actually started going, more the rehabilitation route and actually treating the disease and not just the symptom of the disease. Because as much as people don't like to admit it, addiction really boils down to the disease. So I think we need to start looking at it more from that angle and actually studying it instead of just getting mad at it and throwing it back.
The one thing I can see that's going on in many communities, not just ours, is we have a lack of, qualified individuals as police officers, dispatch, the whole 9 yards. And what happens that we've seen time after time after time, we'll bring a young guy on or a young woman on to the force. Phillips County will pay for their education, send them to academy, do the whole 9 yards. And they get that schooling and they're more qualified, so they go to the bigger communities. I think we need to take a little bit different approach as far as blaming the other guy. You mentioned the reservation. We have problems in Phillips County that need to be addressed also. I live in 12 miles out of Malta. And I've dealt with, for various reasons, ambulance calls and stuff like that. I think we have a huge county that we need to, we talked about technology earlier. When I call the sheriff's department or the ambulance, they should be able to punch on a screen my address, my physical address, and that should lead them right to it. I know personally that it doesn't happen that way. And I would like to see that updated. And basically the reason I say that is because people need to know help's going to show up fast. And it doesn't help the overall societal problems until you prove to people you are going to react. You're going to get there as quick as possible, you're going to help. We also have a problem with a lack of help, and I understand that. I'm not sure if our sheriff's department is up to complete full capacity yet. They were earlier, but we need to find bodies to fill these positions, and that's where a lot of the problems are lying, is we can't get people to come in and stay with us. And I think Phillips County is a great place to live. Unfortunately, the young people out there don't necessarily agree with me.
Well, we got a new skate park coming. Hopefully they'll start liking it.
There you go.
And then I liked your comment, Travis, on the radio that the hospital might get some business out of that too.
Yeah. That's not the main goal, but yeah. Well, anybody else out there have any other questions? Back? Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah Partridge. I'm the General Manager for Farm Equipment Sales over in Glasgow. My question is for all of you. Earlier this year, we were all impacted, whether we're business owners or farmers and ranchers or homeowners, with huge property tax hikes. Can you tell me a little bit about how you were impacted by those hikes and some ideas that you have for what we're going to do about it?
Well, I guess I can leave that one. Actually, the reappraisal cycle got us all, and like I said before, it was what we use, that 10-year Olympic average that sets the price of grain and cattle. And both of those products have just been extremely high priced, and we just happened to fall in a reappraisal cycle that we had those 5 or 6 years, and that 10-year average that are real high. I think the best approach we can take when they go down there is we want to say that we want a 2-year reappraisal cycle like everybody else in the state of Montana has. We get a 2-year reappraisal cycle, we use that 10-year average still, but it will get us out of that high price somewhat. We're being a little bit on the lower side of that. It'll help some. Secondly, I think that by the time we get to the legislature with ag prices the way they are, and cattle haven't gone down and grain hasn't gone down, we'll hear a lot from the ag industry about how bad it is out here. And I think we'll have to sit down and work with the Department of Revenue. I've already had some conversations with Mike Cadis. He was a manager at Missoula when I was at mayor, and I know him very well. And I've already had some conversations with him about what can we do. And he was going to look through the process and see where he could come up with some ideas. And I gave him some ideas. And hopefully we can work on maybe going on an 80% of that 10-year Olympic average. And a 2-year cycle would give us some relief. And we could put in that 10-year Olympic average has been around since the beginning of time when we started appraising ag. So we're never going to get rid of it. But if we could go to a 75 or an 80% of that in the 2-year cycle temporarily, and in maybe 4 years we could get that back up to full value, but take us out of the high price crunch that everybody, we all did pretty good when cows and wheat were both pretty high, but they're not now. And operating expenses haven't changed very little except the gas delivery passes. It went down pretty good in that absolute. But that's the main point, I think. Other than that, business equipment tax would help a lot. We can get raise that. And Mike said you don't get rid of those things immediately. We've been phasing out pieces of it over a few years. We need to get that bottom end amount up for the younger farmers. The cap to where you don't have to pay anything, and then also reduce the rates a little bit and gradually continue to work to get rid of that business equipment tax. I think helps a lot. It's not a big thing, but it's one little thing we can do. And they argue about it a lot, but they know they're losing ground, and we're going to win that one sooner or later. But I think we really need to get the rest of that reappraisal cycle straightened out, and then see if we can get them to agree to drop that to a percentage of that Olympic average and go from there.
One of the things I want to inform you all about is you probably heard about the governor's Indian funding balance. That was $300 million is what he wanted to have in the bank. Okay, back 15 years ago, when they had the last time that the legislature had to come back and reconvene, it was because they took too much money out of the Indian fund balance and had huge forest fires. So now the legislature, I think it was in 11, went in and said, okay, we're going to put money for forest fires aside, so it's not a budget issue. So that money's sitting there. So here was our governor at $300 million. He had $60 million in the bank for fires that he wanted to protect. If you take that away, we never got in trouble to $150 million. So give them a fudge. We could bring that down to $200 million. That's $100 million that could have went for infrastructure. Now, a little story on that, and I'm sorry if there's a few Democrats in here or whatever, but I had the pleasure of meeting the governor 3 times, and it pretty hurting, really. The first time was he shook my hand and he looked just like this. Hello, Mr. Lang. How are you? Next time he's presenting to the chamber and he's to the House, and instead of saying welcome 100, because all the senators are there and the representatives are there also, rather than welcome, he says, "Well, glad you guys are here, but I'm here to tell you I don't have a branding iron, but I got a sharp pencil. And if you don't do what I want to do, I'm going to veto it." The first 3-4 sentences out of his mouth. Now, how does 150 people respond to that? The next time was I was getting a bill signed, and I walked in, and you go to this conference room about half the size of this, and you get a bill signed. It was my 3rd bill signed by him, but he walked in. Oh, Representative Lang from radical Phillips County. Now, I'm telling you, and whoever gets the seat of these representatives is going to have to fight for what Northeast Montana is all about, because they don't know us. They don't understand us. They want to pass a lot of bills that we will settle it ourselves. Common sense prevails up here. They say, "Why are you so conservative, Mike?" I said, "Well, I was an agronomist for 30 years. I did a lot of good things with fertilizer, chemicals, and all that, but everything I did was 95% controlled by Mother Nature, and that could change in a whim." And that's kind of the way why we have some of the reasons that we think Mother Nature can throw us. Our county can have some money in the bank, and we have a winter of 11, and we spend it all on plowing people out. Those kind of things happen here. It's Mother Nature. Ag can have $10 wheat, but if we can't produce it, now we can produce it, but we only got $4 taxation. The appraisal, we have to go to the 2-year thing, but the most important, and Sarah, is going to be, how's Colstrip going to affect us? If Colstrip goes down and that tax value has to come, it will probably come from property owners. We're the easiest ones. We can't say no. they can come get the property owner or the business equipment tax. So those are the things we'll have to look at. Yes, we want to reduce it all. And Senator Brendan said it to me 6 years ago, and I didn't really care for it. I said, John, what do you hope to accomplish in Helena? He says, well, sometimes I just want to say no. I don't like that. I want to be progressive, want to go, but sometimes you just got to say, no, my people can't handle this. I'm not going there. And that's a lot of it. So, yeah, my taxes went up 50%. Didn't like it. But we got to make it work. And there's just a lot of people that depend on that stuff, and there's going to be a lot of them crying this time of funding things, and we'll see what happens. But I think we can bring the ending funding balance. I think if we get a Republican government, we will definitely see that. Let's use the money. Let's use the cash. Let's get it there and go.
I was just going to say, I believe with the taxes we got in the state right now, in order to reduce them for property owners and just business owners and everybody else, we don't need to increase taxes for corporations or anything like that. We just need to utilize the natural resources we have in our state, such as coal and timber and that kind of thing. You know, you drive down by Helena and you see nothing but, beetle kill pine forests. And, what's going to happen with that? All it takes is a spark and those things are just going to burn down. You don't get anything from it. Whereas right now, you might not be able to use it for structural lumber, but you can use it for, a lot of people are using that rustic lumber, stuff like that. People pay high dollars for that kind of stuff. So you don't necessarily need to make somebody else pay for it. You just need to allow them to work to make some more money to pay for it. So just taking advantage of what we have in front of us is a big thing. I know it's going to be a hard fight down there because, of course, nobody ever wants to use the natural resources, but I think it's something we do got to fight for.
The one thing I'll say on that note is, yes, my taxes went up too. I'm like everybody else. But here's the deal, folks. We got a lot of people standing there with their hands out. And reducing our taxes is basically based on who's standing there with their hands out. And we are guilty as a society in the state of Montana of, I'm afraid there's getting to be more and more people coming to the trough all the time. I honestly don't hold, I'm not very optimistic about our tax burden going down, because we've got way more people wanting it than we've got people paying in. And like I say, that probably is a more negative statement than you wanted to hear, but we have a lot of demands on the money in the state. So that's just the facts as I see them.
Just a quick question, Dina. With a high percentage of this county being owned by the federal government, I'm just kind of curious with the commissioners, how you guys, do you guys believe it's important to be in the same room as some of the decision makers? And are you willing to do some traveling to the decision makers, a large part of this county?
I was on the Malta Irrigation District Board for about 7 or 8 years, and we dealt with the Bureau of Reclamation right here, and I found that was way more effective. Letter of protest mean nothing to these people. You need to look them in the eye, and that's the way I do business, is look them in the eye and say, really? Do you guys actually believe that? So yes, I would say absolutely. You set me up with a meeting with these guys, I'd love to go look them in the eye.
I attend a lot of meetings through work with different government agencies too, and I mean you can sit there across from the table from them, and you hope that they are listening to what you're saying, and you never know if they are or not, and it's frustrating, and the public comment period is frustrating. You feel like you're sending in the same letters over and over again to the different government agencies. But if you quit going, then I mean, there's a saying, if you're not at the table, you're what's for lunch, and it's true. You know, if you quit going, then they'll use that against you. Well, they didn't show up, so it is important to attend the meetings and hope they'll listen to you.
Mike said it earlier about the Bison people not showing up when they should be there. It'd be foolish to not go to every meeting that involves something to do with the counties of the state of Montana. So most definitely, you would want to be there to look people in the eyes, feel them out, understand what they're saying, and work with them or against them if you don't believe in their policy. So yeah, no brainer, go to the meetings.
One thing that you always want to remember when you talk about taxes, the state of Montana runs corporation taxes, income taxes, all the little local governments and all their districts, fire district, ambulance district, lighting districts, street districts, road districts, and all the other districts out there all run on property tax. But I have started a fight with Mike Cadis in the Department of Revenue, and I'm going to follow up on it. I called him up and told him that I was very disappointed in what they did the last time through in rural Montana, especially eastern Montana, because they had instructed their appraisers to increase the values in eastern Montana. Now, to me, that's not a biased, this is no longer unbiased, but fair reappraisal. And he said, Wayne, I didn't know that. I don't know if he did or didn't, but I'm going to find out. And actually, I'm going to put the pressure on to have another appraisal done by private appraisers rather than Department of Revenue. It won't happen, but it will be good ammunition to use to try to get a 2-year reappraisal and maybe a partial use of that 10-year Olympic average. But they actually did tell the appraisers to increase the values in eastern Montana. And that, it wouldn't make any difference were it not for the 95 school mills, and they're always looking money for the schools. And on Billings, Bozeman, Great Falls. And we use our gas money, we use our other money, and we very seldom get as much money from the state as anybody else does. So it's just another way to extract money from eastern Montana. And they're very good at it, or rural Montana, completely go to all the big cities. Another thing is tax increment finance districts. They're an absolute rip-off for all taxpayers except a few people that are using them in those big cities. I would recommend that everybody always oppose those.
Well, I guess we're running a little short on time now because we are after 1. I suppose if any of you candidates want to stick around, for anybody that's left in here, you guys sure as heck can. I know some of you guys got to get back to work, so I guess we might as well call our chamber meeting adjourned. Thank you guys all.
Thank you. Thank you.
If I can just say something real quick, and I'm sorry before people leave, I'm not the official chamber nor am I running for anything, but I just wanted, I'm new to the Malta area.